we moved into Yuma a little bit further today. We had some errands we had to run. Namely, I had to get that RV screw track cover since ours is messed up. And we did some other errands. The doghouse. The doghouse has good reviews. We're going to see what that's like, which I believe it's pretty good from what I can tell. And it's a nice little area. Little helicopter flying over us. But I would think that, well, we could have rode our bikes and our scooter here, but it would have been a pretty long ride. Today's not terrible. It's 96, I think, today, and it's not quite to that yet because it just turned noon. So, yeah, if you're in Yuma and you're in this area, oh yeah, by the way, CBD's legal here. We talked about that on the live chat the other day, and a lot of little shopping. That's pretty cool.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream. So we traveled a short distance from the doghouse, which the doghouse was okay. The actual dog itself, But the buns, I think they're Hawaiian buns that they use, or Hawaiian bread, and everything else was good, especially the tater tots. I didn't want them to be that good because I kept on trying to eat them. So Heidi found shopping. She wanted to come to Michael's to get some cricket stuff, but there's a Target here. There's oh my God, there's just so many stores. It's this big shopping complex. So if you guys, Hobby Lobby's here.
Yuma Palms.
I don't think Kohl's is here. Maybe Kohl's is here. I think I see Kohl's over there. Just anyways, yeah, like Heidi said, it's Yuma. You can see here, South Yuma Palms Parkway. And this whole gray area that you see on the map, this whole thing, that's all shopping. So get your shopping on, that's for sure. That's the other thing I want to talk about briefly, and we keep on ignoring it, I guess. We've extended our stay here yet another week. Now, we don't want to, but we have things that we need to do. Namely, that axle needs to be installed on the RV. It still hasn't arrived yet. We didn't expect it to have arrived yet, but we're Wednesday. Well, you know, tomorrow's Wednesday. We don't hear anything about it being here or anything like that, so it's probably going to be next week that we get it. So the problem with that is we're going to go back to Mexico to get some dental work done, cleaning, stuff like that. And I don't want them to maybe redo a filling or something and have my mouth all, and then me underneath the RV trying to move an axle around. So we're just kind of in limbo. We're waiting for the axle. Once the axle comes in, I'll install it, hopefully right away. And then at that point, we'll do our dental over in Mexico. And we have a bunch of little stuff that we still need to do, which we need to get propane.
We have a list.
We have a list. We have a whole list of stuff that we need to do. So, yeah, that's what we're waiting for. Now, I'll have to say that the weather's going to be kind of cool for the next few days. I think Thursday's high is like 93, which is 10 degrees colder than what it's been. But I'll tell you what the temperatures are real quick. 96, 98, 96. That's for the next 3 days. Then we get to 103, which is fine. We've already been 103. Then we get to 107, which is fine. We've been 107. But then after that, 108, 111, 115, 113, and 111. I have a feeling that 111 is going to be the day I get the axle. I just have a feeling about that. So maybe the 115 day will be the day that I work on it. We'll just do it. We'll just have to work early or late. Now, here's something else that we got talking about. We drove in this direction relatively quick to get out here. On our way back, I don't know how fast we're going to go back, but I have a feeling there's going to be a point in which we just say, hey, let's just drive to here. And the time difference. I mean, it's really weird that you know, we go to bed anywhere from 10:45 to 1 in the morning. So 10:45 to 1. The problem with that is, in the U.S., over on the East Coast, where we normally are, that means that we'd be going to bed at 12:45 to 3:40 or 3 o'clock. So there's only just a slight overlap. That would be our normal go to bed time. And us getting up in the morning, we've been getting up at like 7:30, 8. So now you just add 3 hours to that. That means 10, noon. I mean, that's really quite a bit later than what we're used to. So we'll have to see what's going to happen whenever we start back that way. I don't think that we'll just have to pace ourselves. And our plans are fluid, like we said. But I think that ends our shopping today. We got to get back to the RV because we might turn into pumpkins. All right, so I want to give you guys an update and kind of a warning about something that's happening with apparently shipments all over, which I find to be weird. Now, if you guys don't know this, which a lot of you don't know this, there used to be a time that I wore collared shirts and pleated pants and dress shoes to work every day. Can you believe it? I went to an office. I actually got up in the morning. I would drive 20 some miles. I would spend my 12-hour day, and then I'd drive home. And I would do that 3 days, 4 days out of the week. I worked a weird shift. But anyways, I'm getting way off topic as normal. But I worked for FedEx Custom Critical for about 5 years, sitting at a desk. And it was a great company to work for. Things may have changed, though, on different levels. And if you guys aren't familiar, FedEx has a whole bunch of different, you got your package delivery, you have freight, you have air delivery, and then you have other things like white glove. That's a division. It was inside the company that I worked for. That was for high value items like paintings and stuff like that. And then you had FedEx Custom Critical, and that was us. And basically we were the ambulance service of the freight industry. So if you had an LTL shipment or something like that and the truck broke down and the freight got critical, we would go get it and bring it. The other thing that we did for the division that I worked in, which we did all the automotive freight. So if Jeep had a Jeep Grand Cherokee and they needed pellets to melt down to make their dashes, and they were running out of pellets, they would call us, and we would have drivers in things as small as a Chrysler minivan. With they very specific vehicles. They were new vehicles. The drivers were highly trained, but all the way up to like a 24-foot box truck. Anything above a 26-foot box truck, I think, maybe. We would go with FedEx Custom Critical and their tractor trailers. But we would send a driver out. He would drive immediately straight to that location, pick up the freight, and immediately drive it. There was no transfers, there were no stops, there were nothing like that. It was all about getting the freight where it needed to be, because some of these plants, if they shut down, with all the UAW workers that are just waiting because the assembly line had to stop because they ran out of parts, it cost a lot of money. And we got fined, actually, when we made a failure of getting meeting an ETA. We got fined $15,000 every 15 minutes we were late. Now, our deliveries were guaranteed within 15 minutes of the time that we said. If there was any kind of delay, we would, at that point, contact the shipper and the consignee and let them know, hey, there's a delay, this is the new ETA, is this going to work for you? Obviously, you need it at the time that we originally said. The driver might be able to make that up. However, is this going to be a major problem? If so, we've got other steps we can do. And what I'm talking about is We had a freight coming from Florida that was traveling to Colorado at a good old slow pace, and we put it in a truck. I'm sorry, we put it on a plane that was a slow plane because fuel. You know, the faster the plane, the more fuel that it burns. So we put it on a slow plane because it didn't need to get there anytime soon. The plane broke down, emergency landed on the road in Georgia, and we got approval from the Highway Patrol because it was a hot shipment at that point. It needed to be there, and that slow plane, now that it broke down, made it to where we needed to get it there fast. Anyways, the Highway Patrol allowed us to bring a driver out onto the highway that was shut down, hand load from the plane onto the van. The van then took it to an airport. We put it on a much faster plane, and we made the delivery 30 minutes late. All at the expense of FedEx, because it was all about what we guaranteed and what we did with the customer service, you know, to keep our customer service up. That's the environment that I worked at. It was very fast paced. Any kind of, the driver gets slowed down because of snow, I had to call the shipper, let the shipper know that the drivers, I had to talk to people. I couldn't just leave a message. I had to talk to somebody. And the same with the consignee. I had to talk to somebody and tell them, hey, this shipment that I called and talked to you about earlier in the day and gave you an ETA is now going to be delayed. Is this okay? And I did confirm the delay. That's the other thing. We would, if the driver said, hey, I'm snowbound, I'm on I-80 and I'm snowbound, I'm stuck, we're not moving. I say, what city you in? What's your location? Is this a good location? Because they all had satellite. I would ping his location, look exactly where he's at, and I would find the non-emergency number for that location, and I would call non-emergency services at the police station to find out, is there a delay? Is the road actually closed? How long do you expect it to be closed? And I had to document what patrol person I spoke with and all the information in the order so that we could confirm the delay, and then of course all that other information about the consignee okaying the new time and all the information that I provided to them. All that was documented, all because of customer service and ETA. You could see why I got out of that racket. I mean, after 5 years, it was tough. But it did teach me customer service and what you need to be going to, what level you need to be going to for customer service. All right, so I told you that whole big story to tell you this, hopefully a little bit shorter story. So we have an axle coming for the RV. As we're looking at it on the phone, it's telling us where the package is traveling and when it's going to be here. Well, right now it's 3 hours away. At 1 a.m. in the morning, Central Time, it arrived in Phoenix. We're 3 hours away from Phoenix. It shows, as it has been showing, that it's going to be delivered today before 7 o'clock, and there's going to be a lift gate that's going to actually be used to drop it off because there's no dock here. Well, I was just calling to confirm that there was going to be a lift gate delivery today. And the first agent I got was horrible. Her phone connection was horrible. Her information was horrible. But she was telling me stuff that I'm like, what? I don't even know what you're saying here. It didn't make any sense. I basically hung up on her and I called back. And I got hold of another agent out there. And I explained to them, you know, hey, this is what the first agent told me. What's going on? Well, the people that are shipping this to me, Dexter, they were kind enough to ship it freight priority. Now, freight priority is just like anything else. There's different levels of how fast you can get your package. You know, some people pay for second day air, next day air, AM delivery, that kind of stuff. Second day air, weekend delivery, Saturday delivery, I mean, there's so many different levels. But in this case, for the freight priority, that is one step up from just normal ground freight, LTL. And with that service, you get normally 3 days. It's a 3-day transit time from Indianapolis, Indiana, where Dexter is, to our location here in Yuma. Now, at no point does anybody say anything about pandemic delays and that there's a backlog in freight and that shipments could be delayed. None of that. And we're getting notifications on our phone saying, hey, it's in Texas. Now it's in somewhere in Arizona. I can't remember where. and now it's in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's given us times. Well, those times are accurate, but apparently now that it's there in Phoenix, they don't know when it's going to get delivered. It could be today. The first agent said it's going to be next Tuesday. Just let you know, at time of filming, it's Thursday. And she's saying, oh yeah, it's next Tuesday you're going to get it. Well, the guy that I spoke to said, we don't really know exactly how long the delay is. So at that point, I went and put my customer service hat on when I worked at FedEx, and I said, so the shipper, I'm sure they're not going to be happy that they paid for a 3-day service and it's not guaranteed. And he says, oh, the money back guaranteed has been suspended since March because of COVID. Well, why wouldn't the shipper also tell why wouldn't the FedEx tell the shipper at the time they set up the shipment, hey, we don't know when it's going to get there. This is what we're hoping for, but we have no idea. Why wouldn't they do that? And on top of that, why would they allow their system to tell me, the consignee, that it's going to be delivered today before 7? I mean, it's been saying that for the last day and a half. So the last day and a half, I'm thinking, okay, Thursday. Why wouldn't it say, this is not, there should be all kinds of red flags that say, this is not guaranteed. And I'll tell you why, because it's going to generate a phone call. So what they're doing is they're playing the odds. They're playing the odds that, okay, first of all, the person's going to have to be expecting it on the day that the computer is telling it's going to be there. And they're going to have to be paying attention to even know how to look that up. If they have a problem with the shipment coming late, they're probably not going to call us. They're going to call the shipper. So let's just let it ride. Because if they call the shipper, then the shipper at that point is going to tell them, yeah, it could be delayed by a few days, and that will buy more time. So FedEx is trying to make this where they don't have to field phone calls, because they would field a lot of them. By giving false information, it gives you false sense of what's actually happening. And they're hoping that they can throw out that, well, maybe it'll be delivered tomorrow. So now you're pacified, but then it generates another phone call. And again, most likely it could be to the shipper. So our level of service in this country has gotten worse, at least with that company. I just want to let you know, if you ship anything freight or you're having an axle sent to you from Dexter under warranty like we are, there could be a good chance you're not going to get it even close to when they say it's going to get here. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. I actually brought up that point with the service agent. Obviously, you know I was going to say something to him about it. And I told him, hey, I used to work for FedEx Custom Critical, and our level of service was way better than your guys' level of service. And I'm surprised that you guys are getting away with this under the FedEx banner. They don't even have service failures or corrective actions that go into place. That's something we would do. If we would, like I mentioned, even though we confirmed the later delivery time and all that, if we missed that 15-minute window, that would be a service failure. That would get logged in our ISO 9000 information. You know, there was a separate system. The ISO management rep would look at service failures. Those service failures then would be brought up in a group setting, and there would be corrective actions put into place to make sure that that service failure didn't happen in that same way again. And those corrective actions would be reviewed every month to make sure that if they were put into place, if something like that happened again, that those corrective actions were being followed to make sure that it didn't happen again. And if that corrective action wasn't being followed, that would be another service failure. So that's why I was an ISO 9000 internal auditor, because I would audit that whole process. And they don't even have anything like that. Do you guys even care about this stuff? Probably not. Basically, I want to let you know that today's high is going to be like 95, and it's just a beautiful day. I mean, we had the windows open until just recently. I just turned on the air, and I mean, it's 11 o'clock local time, and we finally got up to 80 degrees inside the RV. Well, usually it's man, it's 80 degrees right away. I was hoping that with the delivery coming today, that I could get this all done right away while it's cool. And what do I mean by cool? What's the temperatures for the next few days, Hyde?
105 plus.
Yeah, 105 up. And I think the highest is 115? Yeah, 115. So for the next, I don't know how many days, 5 days, it's 105 to 115. Now that's warm. And I'm not going to see that, unfortunately. I'm going to, unfortunately, probably have to work when it's much, much warmer. And here's the thing. This is what I'd like to do. I'd like to go out and start removing the axle now while it's relatively cool outside, or even this evening. But two things. Yeah, if I remove that axle, now the RV can't be moved, you know, until we get the axle, unless I put the old axle back on. And what if they deliver me this axle and it's damaged in shipment? Or what if it's the wrong axle? What if the shipper got the wrong one sent? You can see why I'm not out there taking it off. It wouldn't make any sense. I have to verify the part that I get to make sure it's going to fit and that it's not damaged. And then at that point, I got to do the work and pull this one off and make the swap. The other reason that you do that, if you guys don't know that aren't mechanics, there's going to be a few tools that I'm going to utilize to get this stuff off of the RV. So that means I have to get out my electrical box with wire cutters and wire ties. I have to get out my impact wrench with the correct sockets. I have to get out wrenches, open-end wrenches, boxed-end wrenches for the same reason. And I have to get out a container to hold all the, you know, the nuts and bolts and stuff like that. I also have to get out my bottle jack to lift all that and make sure it's secured. Now, if I do all that and I take the axle off, now I need to put all those tools away. I need to put all that stuff away, and then when the new one gets here, I got to get all that stuff out again. So if you guys ever work on something, make sure you have access to the part right away, and make sure it's the correct part. You can ask Heidi. She worked in the parts department all those years. You want to bring in the old part, you want to match it up, make sure it's the right part. And unfortunately, you got it all apart. But don't take it apart and do it until you're ready for that new part to go on, so you don't have to get all your tools out and put them away and then get them all out again. And then put them away again. It's just not a good thing. All right, that's it. We're gonna try to enjoy the day. I don't even know what that means at this point, because we had work involved that's not getting done. Well, YouTube, we finally get to come outside today. And then that's not entirely true. We did go hop in the truck and go make a return of some Amazon stuff. Look, the screen went out again. My screen's going out on the for the camera because I think it's because it's so hot outside. So here, let me show you the temperature. It's odd. It's very odd. You can see there. This is what we're going to see for the next week. And let's look at our, right now, it's 100. It's 8:15 and it's 100. Go figure that out. Isn't that odd?
It doesn't feel like 95, if that makes a difference.
Yeah, it only feels like 95. I'm telling you, this is, you know, we've been saying, oh, we want the heat, we want the heat, we want the heat. I'm telling you, we've got the heat. This is probably at our limit, for sure. You've got to organize your day. You got to think about when you want to go out and do stuff and do some work. We got stuff done. I replaced my Level Mate Pro. We charged up the scooter. We took the bike and the scooter yesterday and went on a run to the grocery store. You can work around it, but yeah, this is the limit. This would be the limit for sure. So I thought that we might want to show you and check in with you on that, because we haven't done a lot of footage. We might take you on a scooter ride one day. So basically what's going on here is the same thing that's been going on all along, which you've already seen my rant, and that's FedEx just don't know when they're going to deliver the axle, although it shows that it was dispatched to Yuma the other day. Friday. So it's literally probably 5 miles away from here, but it's the weekend. You're not going to get in there. And even so, we are literally having a lift gate for delivery at the location. So why would I go up with my truck and then not have, it's not dock height, so they would have to use a forklift, and that could just be trouble. So we'll just have to wait. Once we get the axle installed, we have a few other things that we have to do, which we've accomplished quite a bit while we're here. Quite a bit, including that whole downsizing. But after that, we're going to go over to Mexico and see what this whole dental thing, what we actually want to do. We got to have a consultation, basically, and then they'll let us know. But all right, well, that's it. That's pretty much it. We wanted to check in, though, because we haven't been doing much. So a little bit later, we'll see what happens. We'll have to say, though, even though we're basically in the city, boy, it looked awful nice over there. It's pretty cool. I'll have to say, it's pretty cool. Look at I know you guys can't see this, but there's a star over there, or a planet that's showing up, and then the moon, and yeah, that's just cool. That is all cool. I love it. Would you live here?
No.
Would you live here in just the winter?
I don't know.
So before we let you go, let's talk about that real quick. Would you want to live here?
I could live here in a house, not in an RV.
Could you live here in a park model?
Maybe.
Could you live here in a mobile home?
Well, they're about the same.
I don't know. Mobile home's the next step up. Maybe. So that's the answer is maybe. So I guess we'll give you some.
I mean, we'd have to have one of those air conditioner units like we seen at those houses that stand about
Oh my
this
God!
tall.
Some of these AC units are huge down here.
I mean, and the houses weren't even
Now we know
big.
we know some of them might be an evaporative cooler style cooling. That's big down here, but it's funny because what we see down here in these park models is just park models through here.
They're bigger than what we had.
Three window air conditioners, four window air conditioners.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would do a split AC unit if we stayed down here. I would affix the RV with a split AC unit. Well, anyways, so let me give you our itinerary as of now. We're waiting to see if we can get into Vero Beach for January, February, and March, maybe even longer, but January, February, March for sure. If that's the case, we are also going to be in Orlando starting in November. Sorry, December. The beginning of December. So we're going to get there in December. We're going to stay all December in Orlando, and then January, February, March in Vero Beach. That's if Vero Beach contacts us, this one park in particular, and says, okay, that we can get there. Okay. And it's not a big mystery. If you guys, we're on a list. If you guys go back and look, just not that long ago, last winter, we were in Vero Beach. We love that place. All right. So, with those plans not being firm, we're planning on, until we get the word, which we may not get the word, of hanging out in the west side of the country, central to west side of the country, until January, and go to the Quartzsite show and stay in this part of the country through winter. So our plans are mill around, check out the rest of this part of the country as much as we can, which we don't have that many months now left, if you think about it, but come around to January if we haven't heard, or by then, December, if we haven't heard that we can go to Florida, then at that point we will be here through the whole winter. We're going to see what that's like, at least until after the Quartzsite show. And we tried a little BLM camping. See how that works. Might have to make some changes to stuff, but that's our plans, and those plans are so loose, it's incredible. All right, I got to get back in. We'll pick this up another time. All right, so another warm day here. I think we were hovering around 108 degrees for the day. It's not as bad as you guys think. I think the highest temperature we got into the RV today was around 79. And that 79 doesn't feel as hot as what I'm used to as far as 79 and humid. So it's okay, it's doable. However, we chose to kind of hang in the RV today and watch videos. So as we're watching videos, of course, we come across recommended videos that we don't normally watch. And one of them came up and had one of these thumbnail clickbait titles. And, you know, it's okay to do a little bit clickbait, but whenever you get into repeating the thing over and over again, it gets to be pretty bad. So I thought I'm going to shoot a video for you guys and talk about this subject and give my own perspective on it. Because my perspective is just like anybody else's. It's subjectable to, you know, what I'm experiencing. And it's it kind of bugged me to the point where everybody loves drama, and I don't want you guys to be misinformed, because this channel may be trying to drive views, not my channel, but the channel that's trying to post up some kind of crazy statement on a thumbnail or the title of their video. And just because they experienced it, they've made it more dramatic than probably what it really was. So this video in particular, they were talking about how the RV parks don't have any room. That's the first misconception. These RV parks have room. The problem is it's peak season. And there's a lot of RVs on the road. And there's even more of them that's going to be on the road than ever before. And you can't necessarily do what you did in the past. You can't necessarily go to the Florida Keys and expect all the RV parks to have open arms and have plenty of spaces for you to stay as long as you want. It's not happening. You have to change the way you do things. And for people who are new, you don't know this. And you're watching the videos and saying, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm never going to get to go camp in my new RV. Sure you are. You're just going to have to find a place that has sites available. We don't make reservations that often. We even have 1,000 trails, and we don't make reservations that often. And we stayed all through Florida last winter, and we only had 4 reservations, if I'm not mistaken. I think we started with the Three Flags, and then which is in Wildwood, Florida. We stayed there for about a month, and then we also did Zephyr Hills. We stayed there for about 3 weeks. 2 of those weeks were a reservation. 1, we just made it the seat of our pants. It's like, hey, can we stay? Yeah, sure. You're going to experience a lot of different things, and some of these parks aren't as desirable as others. Guess what we're doing here? We're in Yuma, Arizona at the beginning of summer. It's hot. It's a hot location. It's also bare. I'm talking bare bones. We have the whole swimming pool to ourselves almost every day if we want it. We have the hot tub to ourselves almost every day if we want to go use it. We have the whole park. We see maybe 4 people that walk through this park in the evening, and that's about it. The roads are relatively uncluttered, uncongested, and it's because we're staying in a park that's not, you know, the Arches National Park, or again, Florida Keys, or some other crazy park that everybody's trying to get into. Why would anybody think that whenever they want to make a reservation at one of these parks, knowing how many RVers are out there and how it's gotten to the point where it's a little bit different than it has been the last few years, when they don't get a reservation, or when there's a little bit of difficulty with the reservation to get in there, they throw their hands up in the air and just Chicken Little. The sky's falling. We're never going to be able to camp in any of these parks anymore. There's no sites. That's not true. That is definitely not true. It's like me getting upset that I can't get into Disney World on the 4th of July to see the fireworks because they're packed. They're to capacity. Well, yeah. I mean, why would I say, oh, forget it, the theme parks are never going to be the same again. There's too many people. But that's what they do in this RV crowd. I think that there's a problem with a lot of people wanting this red carpet to be laid out for you to camp, for these people to camp. It's not that way. You have to realize just because you think you're important, you may not get a spot. And you can't be all upset about it and up in arms about, well, I don't understand it. It must be something catastrophic because I cannot get the site that I want at the best park in America at this peak time of season. So, guys, just ignore those videos. Ignore them. Walmart, they're all coming to the end. Nobody's going to be able to park at Walmart. Just ignore those videos. Ignore them. You're going to find your situation just like everybody else's situation. It's going to be difficult to find reservations in certain parks at certain times. If you were to call up and try to book a hotel and say, hey, I'd like to come down to Miami and stay at the Hyatt for the week of this and this, and they say, sorry, we don't have any rooms, are you immediately going to get on YouTube and make up a video and say, oh my word, we just can't stay in hotels any longer. The hotels are all overbooked. There's just nothing available. No, you'll call another hotel until you find a place. You might even end up in a motel or an efficiency, someplace you don't necessarily want to go to, but you have to if you want to stay there. So just ignore those videos. I wanted to talk about that. The second thing is interaction with people. You know, these campgrounds, they're overwhelmed. These guys aren't making millions. Don't get me wrong, some of these campgrounds are making very good money. But the people that you're dealing with on the over-the-counter level that you're talking to on the phone, I doubt they're probably part-time, maybe they're full-time, they're overworked, whatever. Don't expect Class A customer service every single time. That's not the industry. And right now, quite honestly, those people don't have to be nice to you. They should be, but they don't have to be. You know why? There's 20 other customers that don't even want to talk to anybody that's willing to stay there with very little attitude or very little problems with whatever's going on. So just know that you may not get the best treatment as you would with any place that's overly busy. If you go into a restaurant and there's big line to get in, it's on a Friday night, you know, your food may come a little late. You might have to wait a little longer. The waitresses might be a little short. Why would you expect any different at the RV park? I'm not sure. And again, then to make a video, to make a big stink about it, is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. The other thing is, the systems that are in place to make reservations online, over the phone, by mail, by carrier pigeon, however it's set up, just realize that it's fallible. It's definitely fallible. So the best way to make a reservation, regardless of what the system says, what it says online, is to try to do it online. But once you do it online, call in and confirm it after the fact. Call in and just say, hey, listen, I just made a reservation online. I just want to make sure I didn't do anything wrong. That way it sounds like to the person you're talking to on the phone that you're not calling to make sure they didn't screw something up. It sounds like you're calling in to make sure you didn't screw something up. And you'll find that they're more apt to actually look to make sure that everything's okay. They will go through everything. Hey, you did say you had a travel trailer, right? And you did say you're just two of you and there's no pets, there's no kids, that kind of a thing. So that's the way we do it, and it seems to work. Now, if I was to make a reservation online, and call in and talk with the person and say, listen, I just made the reservation. Are we okay? And they say, no, sorry, there's nothing. There's nothing available. The system, you know, it shouldn't have let you make the reservation. We'll get you refunded right away. Okay, that means there's no reservation. There's no way for you to stay. That doesn't mean you call back a couple of times and hope to get somebody else on the phone to ask, hey, any chance there's an opening? Because your system still says, you know, there's sites available, and I just want to make sure. You don't do that. You were told an answer. Just because dad said no, don't play the let's go see if mom says yes to try to play it off of each other. If you're told no over the phone, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Now, as far as these sites and how busy they are, and once you get into a place, to extend your stay, that is a request. That is a cross your fingers and hope. And if they say no, that's it. The answer is no. Time to make plans. Time to make plans to leave when you were going to leave in the first place. That's not, let me talk to somebody else and see if there's a different answer. And just because the system is flawed, and it could be that it's allowing you to make reservations online, don't play that card. Don't play the whole, oh, I'm going to go ahead and try to make a reservation through the system and then throw it in their face and say, well, if there's no sites, why do I have a reservation? And you even charged me for it. None of that stuff. Don't do it. Listen, those people are human. They know their system and what goes on the best. Sure, there's going to be mistakes made on a human level and the system level. That's why you do the double check. You first go through the first reservation, whichever may be, usually online because it's easier. You can put in all your parameters. That way they don't make a mistake. You can put in the length of your RV, the actual dates you want to leave, you know, arrive and leave at. You know, if you can choose a site, you can actually put in the site that you want. You can choose the amenities you want. And if you can get the reservation that way, make sure you wait just about 15 minutes and then call the campground and get hold of someone and say, listen, I just made the reservation. Can you make sure I didn't screw anything up? And they'll go over all that information with you. Now, if you call up and they say, it might be that there's not a spot really available for you, that's something else they'll have to work out with you. And if they say, you know what, no, there's not a site, there's not a place for you to stay, that's it. You're done. Just hang up the phone. There's no reason to rant and rave and, oh, that system is failed, and I had to do this and they charged me already. Now I got to wait for the refund. Hey, that's what you got to do. So as far as staying at campgrounds, what I want you to take away from this is, yes, you're going to have a hard time if you're trying to get in to your favorite campground on the weekend, especially if it's a holiday weekend. And especially if you got a big rig, because now your limitations are size, of course. I mean, you don't realize that I can fit into a 50-foot site. I can fit into a 30-foot site. I can fit into a 40-foot site. I can fit into a 60-foot site. A 42-foot fifth wheel, it's going to fit into 42-foot and bigger. But they lost the 39-foot site, the 38-foot site, the 37, 36, 30, 25. I mean, you lose all those sites. The shorter, the smaller the unit is, the more sites you have a choice from, or you have to choose from. A lot of people don't think about that, and once they get their RV, unfortunately, you know, they're choosing their RV and the way it's laid out and what amenities it has. But you really, I've said this plenty of times in the past on our old videos, fit into buy the smallest RV you feel comfortable with, that you feel towing, you know, comfortably and living in comfortably. You know, you've got to try it out. You have to try it out. I mean, that's what we did. And even us at 30 foot, there's some times we need bigger. There's no doubt about it. We could use a little bigger. But every time that we get into another campground, because we are a smaller RV, I just thank God that we deal with the little bit of clutter that we may encounter inside the RV, because we're a little bit on the short side, but I'm still being able to get into a site. So whole idea behind this is just education for the people that are watching YouTube, don't get swept up in it. Don't get swept up in the whole, there's no RV sites available. There's no place to stay. There's plenty of places to stay. If you can handle a little bit of heat, and if you got a unit that can stay cool under the conditions, we're in Yuma. We could stay here all summer long and have a site for dirt cheap. No problem. We're not going to do it, but I'm just saying there are options. And yeah, you're going to have to make some consolations. I mean, come on. If you know that the freeway is going to be congested at 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, and it's like that every single Monday morning, why would you get on the freeway and get stuck in traffic and then complain about, oh my God, we can't even get through the city anymore. There's too many cars. It's too congested. You find another way. You don't choose a congested path and then claim that the world's coming to the end because there's no possible way that this is happening without something out of control going on. That's not the case. We all know these parks are getting more crowded. We all know that there's not as many parks out there as there are RVers. But that doesn't mean you can't get a site. I guarantee that we can get a site pretty much anywhere we want to go without reservations, traveling through the whole country using just a few options. And I've got some links down below. Harvest Host we don't have. We might end up getting Harvest Host at some point, but we don't need it at this point. Boondockers Welcome, again, links down below. Passport America, link is in the description. And Thousand Trails, which that is down in the description also. Between those three, we can pretty much get a reservation somewhere or a place to stay. And if we don't, guess what? That's the whole reason I did the video on the generator. On the back of the RV, we can stop and stay for a day or even two at Walmart parking lots. Not the same Walmart, but different parking lots. Truck stops, rest areas. That's why we did that. Because we don't necessarily like to make reservations. Now, don't get me wrong. We would love to be able to pull into every state park across the entire country and stay for as long as we want right along the riverside or the lakefront or up in the mountains with scenic views. It doesn't happen that way. Just deal with it. It doesn't mean don't check. So if there's a place that you want to go, check. And the later, I should say, closer you get to your time that you're actually wanting to travel, but later in your planning stages, you might find that there's some cancellations. People cancel all the time. And it could be that they cancel last minute and a spot becomes available for the place you want to be at. So don't get discouraged. That's all I'm saying. We're going to go back to watching some YouTube channels and videos and see if I got something else I can talk about.